So Connor, thanks so much for being here, but let's jump right in. And I want to talk about what are some of the things that wholesalers get wrong about like leads and lead management. Like if you could nail it down, like what are the top three things?
It's a good question. And thank you, by the way, David,
Yeah.
you and the team for having me on. I'm super grateful. Three things wholesalers get wrong about lead management. Okay,
Mhm.
so first, what I would say is just doing it manually. I think there's
Yeah.
still a lot of teams who are doing it
Yeah.
without automation, and that leads to like missed follow-ups, that leads to
Right.
inconsistency, that leads to deals, opportunities slipping through the cracks. It's not the best when you have to rely on memory or rely on a team member or a virtual assistant or a mood and emotion of that day.
The vibe of the
Um,
day. Yeah.
exactly. To manage your leads, like you have to do it with some type of automation. You
Yeah.
have to do it with some type of drip campaign.
Mhm.
I think the best drip campaigns are the personalized ones. So it's not like hot,
Mm.
it's not warm, it's not cold drip campaigns. It's like signed elsewhere drip campaign, right?
Mhm.
You know this best. 50 deals go into contract, 50
Yeah.
deals that go into contract, or 50% of deals that go into contract don't
Close.
close.
Right.
So let's say you put 20 leads into signed elsewhere because they say they signed with another buyer. You
Mm.
can expect 10
True.
come back.
That's true. That's true.
So
If you
like
if you
the
follow up with them for sure.
exactly. So if you have if you have drip campaigns specifically for their selling stage in the selling process, we've noticed that works best. So obviously there's offer rejected. We
Yeah.
love signed elsewhere. There's listed with agent, right? If they list with an agent, still run a drip campaign on those guys. Do
Yeah.
it automatically. And what's cool about just having these drip campaigns is you're going to be talking to as many sellers as possible at one time,
Right.
right? You're going to be talking to a seller on the phone, but your CRM, your system is going to be talking to 100 other sellers at the same time,
Mhm.
dropping them message,
And I think
dropping them messages.
Yeah, I think what's amazing is you're talking about, don't lose it and make sure you have drip campaigns. When I started in 2002, dude, we were working off of notebook paper. Like I'm telling you, it was literally the Stone Ages. So then the first CRM came out and it's like, put your lead in here and you can at least see them all on a screen. And then it
Mhm.
was, some sort of follow-up campaign and we would have somebody in the office making all of these calls. And, we were using Google calendars to track when our next trigger point with them was, but I love how far the industry has advanced. And when we talk about AI, for me, how can it make us do a do a better job, augment or amplify the things that we are doing, which should be on the phone, right? I get it. AI might get there someday, but for right now, I think we are the best person to be on the phone with that seller. Um, so yeah, I absolutely love this, that having a good CRM and then having these things built in the backside so that they're just constantly keeping your leads hot, right? Hot and warm or hot and fresh or whatever it is that Krispy Kreme says, right? You go by and
Yeah.
it's hot and fresh and the sugar smell just draws you over there. But that's donuts for people who don't live in the South. But anyways, yeah, no, I think this is fantastic that they built it out and that you guys have actually thought this through so far, to have those different types of campaigns because everybody's going to be different. You may only have one person that falls into
Yeah.
that category right now, but I mean, eventually, you become that trusted person because we're in the trust economy and they're like, oh, this guy, he stayed in front of me. He's still here. He's still, he's ready to help me if everything doesn't go right. So I think that's fantastic. So obviously follow up is great. What else? What else you got?
Another thing that wholesalers make mistake on is reactivating the database. So
Hmm.
this is something interesting because I talk to a lot of wholesalers every day. We have a CRM, we have a system, and we ask them like, how often are you reactivating your database? And what that means, guys, is anyone that's old, cold, dead, ghosting, are you guys putting them in a reactivation or a revival campaign at all
Hmm.
throughout the year? Because every dead lead is money that you've spent,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't
Yeah.
matter
You've
if it's
already
cold
spent it.
calling.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've already spent it. So why would you not
Hmm.
be trying to convert them at all times, right? Sellers don't convert on your timeline. So you can't base your emotions on that lead based on if it worked today or not.
Hmm.
Sellers, they sell and convert on their timelines,
Right.
right? So if you're not consistently reactivating your system, you're honestly wasting money that you've already spent that could have a return on investment,
Right. And so many
right?
people just, they call somebody once and like, oh, that lead's no good. And they just want to go buy another one or just go to the next lead. And when we ran a very big sales floor, again, we were having to do everything manually because this was a few years back. And, I kept this old school notebook where I used to get my leads, and they would come over an email, and I would print them off, and I would put them in this notebook. And I would literally take that notebook and throw it down on the desk. I'm like, guys, there's $100,000 in there. Like,
Yeah.
just call the fucking leads, right? There's money in there. So yeah, absolutely. Like, we've paid for that. We've charged it on our card or whatever if you're using your debit card, right? But yeah, we've put money out. Every dollar that goes out needs to come back with 10 friends, right? So we have to work
Yep.
these leads. And I think that is a spot where, people get frustrated, or they don't follow through, or they just don't have a process.
Yep.
And, again, this is where technology and automation have come into play, even AI, where, you have a background system that's kind of working like behind the curtain at the Wizard of Oz, keeping those leads coming back in. And yeah, absolutely. So crucial to make sure you're doing that. 100% agree.
We've all had those situations where we call the
Mhm.
seller that we thought we had a great relationship with, but
Yeah.
they weren't selling at the time that we were communicating with. And then we call them back and they're saying, yeah, I already sold to this buyer over here. We're under contract. And I sold it at this price. And you're like, shoot, I could have
Mhm.
offered you more.
Yeah.
That's your fault. That's not the seller's fault. That's not the other
Right.
buyer's fault. You were not staying on top of your old,
Mhm.
cold, dead, ghosting leads. So my rule of thumb for those who are listening is I would reactivate your old, cold, dead, ghosting leads every semester.
Yeah.
So maybe every 4 to 6 months, you put it through a simple drip campaign, guys. And this drip campaign, it does not need to be crazy, but it just needs to be towards old, cold, and dead
Yeah.
ghosting seller leads.
So
And
what's an
if you do
example of
that,
how you would reactivate them?
yeah. So, like the first text message I would recommend you do is saying, I wouldn't even mention who you are. I would just say,
Mhm.
hey, Jerry, have you already sold 123 Banana Street? I'm ready to give you an offer.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so it's like they know that we haven't talked to you in a while. Maybe they're sliding up in your text message thread. There's conversation from 6 months ago. You're just
Mhm.
asking a question. Have you already sold?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you can open it up more with a drip text message after that maybe mentions your name. But what we do is we just go question mark,
Mhm.
and then the next text is, did you see the message above? And
Yeah.
the next text is up arrow, up arrow. We're not really mentioning addresses. We're not really mentioning their names. We're not really mentioning our names and what we do because all we want to get is a reaction. That's what the reactivation is all about. We're not trying to get if they're actually selling their house or not. We just want communication.
Mhm. And I've noticed people
Right.
doing
So,
that even to me. Like, I'll get these
yeah,
weird text messages, and I'm like, "Oh, I know what this is." We're in
exactly.
the
And
know,
when,
right? But the normal person doesn't.
no, no. And even like if you guys were seeing like the average, hey, we talked about are you still selling? I would love to give you an offer. Like sellers have a lot of resistance to that,
Mhm.
especially now that a lot of teams are jumping on technology. So that means a
Mhm.
lot more follow up are happening from operators. And just to give an idea, every motivated seller, they're talking to 8 to 15 other wholesalers and investors. And
Yeah.
imagine if all 18 to 15 wholesalers and investors were also using technology just like you.
Yeah.
So, and I would like you guys all to know a lot of people have like kind of simple the follow-up text messages that are not played out. They're not actually thought about. They're just like from ChatGPT. They're just pasted through. And it's we have to be personalized. We have to be different. So the rule of thumb is do it minimum once a semester. But if you want to be the best of the best and never waste a single dollar on marketing, I would do it once a quarter.
Okay. You think doing it more often than that is hurtful? Like, because I know, with sellers, one of the greatest things I've ever heard is time and circumstances changes everything. So
Right.
they may have submitted a PPC, PPL lead, whatever it is, at Sunday at 2 a.m. And then you call them on Wednesday, and maybe somebody loaned them $1,000 and they've solved that problem. They're like, oh, I don't need to sell
Yeah.
anymore. But that cycle will continue, right? Anybody who's in that kind of distress typically, finds himself in it again, right?
For people who are in the active sales process. So that means that they are selling, but maybe they rejected an offer, or they are selling and they're waiting for a lawyer, or they are selling and they sign with
Mhm.
another buyer. You need to follow up with those guys consistently. For
Yeah.
people who are old, meaning like you haven't talked to them in 6 months,
Hmm.
Cold, they said that they're not selling at all right now.
Hmm.
Ghosting, meaning that even they're not even talking to you. And then dead, meaning they said they're not selling at all.
Yeah.
In any case, you
Hmm.
need to hit those guys with the reactivation. I think if you do it more than a
Hmm.
quarter in terms of cadence, like you do it maybe once every 60 to 75 days, I think it's just a little bit too intense
Yeah.
because they were already a no. So there's the probability of them being a no again is very high. But if you do it over
Mhm.
a quarter, you're hitting them
Yeah.
4 times a year.
Yeah.
It's like you're right, time and circumstance, it can all
Yeah.
change. So that's the
So
second thing that people are making mistake on.
so when they're doing this, should it be like 60 days from the last conversation? So that way they're all kind of hitting throughout the year. So this is what gives you consistent deal flow.
Yes, at least
Mhm.
it cleans up what needs to be cleaned up because
Right.
even if you do a reactivation campaign or revival, you're not guaranteed anything.
No.
What you are guaranteed is conversation, and
Mhm.
conversation leads to good conversations, and good conversations become sellers and
Mhm.
become contracts and then deals. But
Yeah.
it honestly depends. Like some teams, so for us, it's like when a team comes on our system, we immediately do a reactivation campaign right away on all old, cold, dead ghosting leads.
Mhm.
Their old or their cold lead could have said they're not selling like 2 weeks ago, but we're like still run it.
Mm.
It doesn't hurt. So it doesn't
Right.
really matter. It's just as long as like you're cleaning up and you're doing that housekeeping, that's important.
Interesting. And I know before we talk about the third thing, how important is that first conversation with somebody, right? Where you're really digging in and getting to know them and building rapport and getting all the information, because I would imagine you need that to put into the CRM to pick all of the right things, all the right categories for this. But I feel like that is so important in taking good notes so that when you do jump back on the phone, now I can say, "Oh, Connor, hey, we talked a month or so ago. Geez, you said, your daughter was getting ready to go to kindergarten. Like, how was that? Like having those notes, the ability to just drop right back into that kind of conversation. And it reminds them that, oh, I did have a conversation with this guy. How important is that?
Super important. First
Mhm.
impression, last impression are the most important impressions.
Mhm.
And yes, you guys should be taking note on everything, down to what medicine they're buying at the pharmacy, down to their dog's
Whatever they tell
name.
you, right?
Whatever they tell you, I think you should have it
Mhm.
all and you should always be using it as reference
Mhm.
because people are you can as long as you can refer past conversations, especially like those buzzwords, whether it's their dog's name or whether it's an event that's going on in their
Mhm.
current life, super important. It's a fast report builder
Right.
as you follow up and as you talk to these sellers.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And yeah, I mean, some of the most successful people, they're good at networking, but it's because they just remember they've got some kind of system for keeping track of the stuff. It's cool. What's like the third thing that wholesalers should
Mm,
really be thinking about with lead management?
the third thing,
Hit you with the top three, put you to the test
yeah.
today.
What I would say, and this would maybe not go with for the solopreneur, it might be just a
Mhm.
little bit far for the solopreneur, but this could
Yeah.
be very, very important for people who have teams, who have one salesperson, two salesperson, three salespeople. You guys need to be tracking more than just calls made. I think
Mm,
you guys need to be tracking contact rate. I think you guys should be tracking conversion rates like the new lead to net lead ratio, the net lead to appointment ratio, appointment to offer ratio, offer to contract ratio, and contract to close deal ratio. I think you guys need to be tracking all of that throughout the months, throughout the quarters.
mm,
Also, I think you guys should be tracking your monetary KPIs like cost per contract or
yeah.
cost per lead, even if it's outbound, right? People, it's easy to do it for inbound. Like if you're running like meta ads, Google PPC, it tells you right then and there, it does the conversion for you on like the dashboard of the platform. But for outbound, if you're doing SMS, if you're doing cold calling, you should still be running the same exact monetary KPIs because that's what allows you to just make the right decisions in the new quarter, right? It's quarter two now.
Right.
Everyone went through 3 months. I heard
Right.
people have bad months. I've heard people have the best months of their life in terms of business. And I
Yeah.
always ask them, okay, what's for quarter two? What is the goal for quarter two? And I make sure if I'm really trying to help them and I'm consulting them, I'm just like, I'm telling them, use the data from quarter one to make your decisions for quarter two. And I promise you, it'll be a lot more clear and you will find more predictability.
Yeah.
So I think just being able to track that data and those conversions, whether it's through your marketing channel or whether it's through your CRM.
Yeah.
Super important because you move away from the busy work and you move away from the leaks and the things that actually do bottleneck your business, and you focus on what's actually working in the
Yeah.
business.
That's one of the things that I'll be honest, I was not a huge believer in, and I kinda just winged it, and we were very successful, but we were flying by the
Mhm,
seat of our pants for years and years and years. But when you start tracking these things and you can see from start to finish and you have all of the different steps, if something's not working, you can see exactly what's broken, right? And I don't have to throw everything out and start all over again. I just have to go back to this little thing and see, okay, people are, submitting a lead. I'm not getting them on the phone. What is broken there? Is it time? Is it, do I not have a good drip sequence to keep them warm until I can get on the phone,
mhm.
even if it's in the morning, right? Like there's, when you have these KPIs, now you can start to run a business and you can start to see, hey, here's where I'm failing. And you want to have all of that running smoothly. And those KPIs also will give you indicators of what's going on in other parts of your business. I literally just before I came in here, I got off this call with our dispo team and I'm like, hey, the number of calls that you have coming in, that tells me a lot of stuff. That tells me, is my marketing good? Are we marketing in the right areas? Are these deals working? Your outbound calls tell me, lead into, how you're negotiating. Are you negotiating, right? So you can pull so much, extract so much information out of this. So you definitely want to be tracking these at least very, very simple KPIs. And then, as you get a little more sophisticated, or as the software CRM you're using, it can start to gather more of this stuff. And then somebody can come in and look and go, oh, hey, this is exactly where your problem is. And it's oftentimes not as complicated as people think. It's usually just a very small shift. So I love it. I think KPIs are absolutely crucial. We want to run a very big operation, and every person has KPIs that they're responsible for reporting on. So I think that's great.
I think every single person, down to the least responsible person on your team, should have
Mhm.
KPIs.
Yeah, if you're
And
not
it
responsible for something, it's not
yeah.
tracked, it's just not going to happen. Like, in weight loss, I track shit all the time. In my business, I like everything. Everything gets tracked.
With AI too, it's also like gotten really easy to at least compare data, right? You
Mhm.
might still have to like manually retrieve data from wherever
Sure.
you're actually doing your work in. But
Mhm.
with AI, whether it's Claude or whether it's ChatGPT, you can ask ChatGPT, hey, compare my data to the industry benchmarks and
Mm,
let me know if I'm in the red zone of any of the industry benchmarks. And
love
you
that.
might find out that for your cold calling campaign, your offer to contract ratio is under the benchmark. And then what does that tell you? That means that the whole process is good, but that one, conversion part, and that just means that you got to fix your the way that you give offers. And
Yeah.
if you can fix that, then that should convert correctly into the next
Right.
stage. And that type of stuff is AI has just made it and anyone capable. It's
Mhm.
made even a
Yeah.
80-year-old capable to tracking this data and find
Yeah.
and understanding it, down
Mhm.
to a 12-year-old. And I think that if you're
It's
watching
making
this,
me
you
look a
need to be
lot
using it.
smarter than I used to be. So I
Right.
absolutely love it. I mean, I use it in every part of my life, whether it's business or marketing or health journey or relationships, whatever it is, it's absolutely fantastic. So I love that, making sure that we're managing our leads correctly, and then that leads into KPIs. But when we hit these dead deals, beyond that kind of regenerative, I think that was what you said, regenerative campaigns.
Mhm.
What else can we do with those dead leads to make sure that we're really, honestly squeezing the juice out of every single one, right? We want to make sure we paid for that. I want to have those conversations. I want to do every single thing I possibly can, not only to make money, but to help the seller, right? Because that's really why we're in this business.
It's a good question. So you guys can run the reactivation campaign. That's wonderful. Run
Reactivation
them once a
campaign, right?
quarter. There you go. One time every quarter, one time every semester.
Yeah.
Another thing that I've been seeing teams operate well with is getting better at running the sales process through text messages. Right?
Mm,
Everyone wants to jump on the phone, and that's really good. Like, yes, jump
okay.
on the phone. But like over 30 minutes, how many people can you talk to if you're jumping on the phone? It might just be one or
Mm,
two people, right? So when it comes to these texting sessions, we call it, there's teams out there that are training their salespeople to spend 1 to 2 hours a day on just sending text messages and gathering information via text messages,
mm,
because you can talk to way more people in one sitting period than if you were just doing calls,
Yeah. Okay.
right?
So at
So
what
that's
point
like,
are
yeah,
we qualifying? Sorry to cut you off. At what point are we
yeah.
qualifying people from text to jumping them to the phone? Like what are we looking for? What because here's what I will tell you, because people are hearing that and they're going, "Oh, I can do
Mhm.
this business without getting on the
Yeah.
phone." That's dangerous. I don't think
Yep.
that's a recipe for success on acquisitions or the dispo side. So what are we looking for in those text messages to go, "Hey, when can I get you on the phone?"
Amazing. And yes, I needed to clarify. You're right about that. Anyone that is hot in terms of they need to sell within like the next 3 months, jump on the phone with them, please.
Mhm.
That's going to get you the deal. You're going to build better rapport that way.
Yeah.
When it comes to like your wild list of old, cold, dead ghosting leads, maybe there's like 100 people in there. I'm sure David in your CRM, you guys got like maybe like 2,000, 3,000, maybe even more, maybe
Mm,
5,000.
a
We've worked
lot.
with teams with
Yeah.
5,000 to 10,000 of these types of leads.
Yeah.
You guys can just like try your best to filter the types of people that you're looking at in your CRM, depending on which one you have. And
Mhm.
what these guys are doing is they are just going in there and sending a quick text message and going to the next lead, sending a
Yeah.
quick text message, going to the next lead. And then what they do is, or another strategy is they'll grab like 20 to 50 of these guys. They'll actually send them one singular bulk text message. What
Oh.
that will do is it'll send them a singular text message, and then whoever replies is who you jump on the phone with.
Mhm.
So what you're doing is you have fish in a barrel. You're putting your bait into the barrel. You already know you're going to catch fish because there's nowhere the other fish can go. There's also no other
Right.
food. Whoever bites, pull up, talk to that seller. So that's
Mhm.
another strategy that you guys can run that optimizes your time. And like that's the goal, guys. Like we want to spend our time wisely on the phone with sellers who actually want to talk to us. Okay. Another strategy, David, is adding a field may be called preferred contact time.
Oh,
Okay.
we do that on the TC thing. We t how
There
I
you
tell
go.
people, "What's the hey, Mrs. Smith, I'm gonna be your point of contact from here all the way to closing. What's the best way for us to get a hold of you? Text, phone call, email, carrier pigeon? Make them laugh. That builds rapport."
Yeah. So ask your sellers that, and they'll tell you whether it's 8 to 11, 11 to 2, 2 to 5, 5 to 8, and
Mhm.
make sure you only call them at that time. That way when it is 2 p.m., then you can call only your sellers at 2 p.m.
Love it.
Therefore, when you call 40 people, you have 22 conversations. You don't have 5.
Right, 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 right. The other thing that I love, and then I have kind of a final question for you here is always when you're ending a call, is always tell people here's what the next step is. Because a
Mm,
lot of times, for us, this is all inside baseball, meaning we talk about it all the time. We understand it. People listening to this conversation are going to be familiar with real estate, but the average person, right, who's in distress and losing sleep over their property and they're staying up late at night have no idea. They sell what, three, four houses in a lifetime. And it's usually
right.
with a realtor, right? And the reason that realtors exist is to take them by the hand and kind of guide them through this process. So this is all new and weird. And just because we understand it, they don't. So one thing, we talk in very simple terms, third grade language. We're not trying to show people how smart we are because we can talk about novations or notes or wraps or all this wild stuff. And let's keep it very, very simple. We don't want to overwhelm people. We just want to let them be comfortable that we're solving their problem. But the next thing is, hey, here's the next step. Here's what's going to
Mm,
happen next. I'm going to go underwrite it. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to send you a contract, whatever it is. And then that solves that question in their mind. Oh, okay, this guy's going to help me. And here's what's going to happen next. Great. Right. So I do think that's so important. But I know I've kept you a little bit long here, but this is so much good
mhm.
information for people. So there's a lot of things we've talked about, right? With the regenerative campaigns and the dead leads and the follow up and the KPIs. And like, how can you guys help people with that? I know you have an absolutely amazing CRM. Kind of is all of that in there, and can it kind of bundle up all these things and make my life easier? Because I don't want to have 25 people in my office or build out these massive teams. Can the software and AI and automation do this so I can run a smaller team but be more efficient?
Sure. Just to give context to everyone listening, I'm a young cat. I actually wholesaled for 4 years. I learned from Brent Daniels. I actually used
Love it.
Easy REI transaction coordination when we were scaling our business as well. I do this business with my 4 brothers.
Yeah.
So we're actually in this house currently right now. All 5 of us are behind this CRM system AI business and trying to get this in the hands of as many direct to seller investors,
Right.
as many as possible. The reason why is because we did not have these processes for ourselves. Okay. In the back end of our business, the last run that we had like 70% of the processes that we have inside of closer control. But we've now have worked with like over 200 teams now, putting
Mm,
them in our CRM, testing things out, testing the reactivation, the KPIs, the follow-ups, all the different cool things that you can have in a system. And yes, we can help you. It is all packaged up. And you're working with us, brothers, right? It's us brothers. We have a team. We have Americans on our side, and we're just trying to create this system that makes it so much easier to follow up, so that you can take the most valuable
mhm,
calls in your CRM and in your business, and your time is spent wisely. The system follows up. The system sends drip campaigns. The system tracks your KPIs. The system reactivates. If there's a bug in the system, the brothers in our team, we have you. So yes, David, we can help as many people as possible. And we're looking for these direct to seller investors that want to scale with the
mm,
right people, right? Again, we're in our 20s, we're super young. We're adopting AI quickly. We are in Claude. We hear about all those things. We're playing around with it
mhm.
using ChatGPT. We're making sure we're on the we're in the race of trying to get the best AI into the industry, and that's who you guys would be working with if you guys choose to ask us for help.
Well, I love that, and first off, this is, like, the best podcast ever because you have me, like, who's the old school knuckle dragging caveman who put out bandit signs and, did driving for dollars, which are all still good, but also combined
So
with,
works.
Connor and yeah, it does, and your team where you guys are just on literally on the cutting edge, and I barely know what Claude code is. I actually really don't. I just know the word. But I do know that it exists, and I do wear out my ChatGPT. Her name is Sophia, and I wear her out like nobody's business. But, no, I think it's fantastic that you can take kind of the institutional knowledge that we used to have and combined it with what you guys are doing, and using that AI and the automations to really just augment and amplify everything that you're doing so that you can do more of this business. And business is honestly so much easier than it used to be. It really is. But at the end of the day, you still have to pick up the phone and call people. But listen, I know you guys have been building this and it's been very intentional and you've been taking on people kind of slowly. So you opened up now a little bit to take some qualified people and teams in?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Well, if you are, what I'll do is we'll drop it here right now. We'll get you a link where they can. What's going to happen when they go to that link? Maybe they can set up a call with you, and you can kind of explain how even more in depth, and maybe do a little demo for them.
Yeah, so if you guys do book something on our calendar, we actually don't do Zoom calls anymore. We just do a phone call because
Oh,
I think
okay.
that's just the best fit for everyone.
Yeah,
But
not
when you
everybody
guys
sits
do
in front
book
of their computer all the time.
Exactly. When
Yeah.
you do book a call, after the call is booked, it does show you a video of the
Mhm.
CRM. So
Oh,
even
cool.
if you guys don't, if you guys even just want to see the video,
Mhm.
just book a call, cancel it. Don't
Oh,
answer any of our text messages or our calls, but watch the video. The
don't be
video
that
is going to
person.
show up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, the video will show up there on the other side.
Mhm.
And it's like a 12-minute video of just me in the system showing what
Mhm.
happens to a seller lead. I don't really talk through the process.
Mhm.
I just show it. And yeah,
Mhm.
if you guys want to work with us, we can work.
Awesome. Well, guys, definitely check it out. The industry has changed so much. Even if you've been doing this for 4 or 5 years, it's dramatically changed and changing all the time. And one of the reasons that I love these newer CRMs is because they're built around this, right? They're built around today's technology, not technology from 2009. So, I would 100% go check it out. And yeah, Connor, again, thank you so much for coming on, man. It's always a pleasure to have you here. I learn something new every single time, and for someone who's been around 24 years, that's pretty cool. So I really appreciate you coming on and sharing some knowledge with us.